Good morning, everybody. We'll just give a couple of minutes for people to join in. We have a lot of people joining in, but thank you all for joining us and really appreciate you taking your time off and, attending this session. We're excited about a great panel and a great topic for discussion. Maybe while people are joining in, if others who've joined in if you can use your chat to just maybe quickly share your name, the organization, maybe your role, it'll be good to hear if you're already in product management or you're curious and aspiring for that role. So happy to just maybe hear some introductions as we, wait for people to join in. Hi, Samta, okay. Super. And any organization, if you want to talk about which organization you're from. Nice. That's good to know. While all of you are introducing yourself there, my name is Sukanya. I am with Nasscom and I drive the agenda for growth for the GCC and the BPM ecosystem. And this is a very critical topic especially for the GCC ecosystem, and that's why we are here today. We believe this is a skill in an area which will create a lot of opportunity, of course, for individuals, but for organizations and for India in the future. Great. We have some great variety of organizations coming in. It's very interesting. Yeah, please feel free to use the Q&A tab and the chat tab to also share questions, preferably the Q&A tab. It becomes easier for us to track as and when we start the conversation. And if you have any conversation upfront, please feel free to, keep adding the questions. We'll address as many relevant as possible. And we'll get back to you, of course, with more responses or connects if that works. But if you think something's relevant, something's on your mind, please feel free to share it with us. Okay, I think we're 3 minutes in. We have obviously continuously people joining, but let's respect the time of the people who are here. And thank you once again, everybody, for joining us today. This is a super important topic for all of us here. The GCC ecosystem has been flourishing in India. It's been doing some absolutely fantastic, great work. Today, we have more than 1,600 unique companies. Very many of them do extremely high-end work. Some of them are really at the transformation edge. And there's a lot of excitement about the opportunity that, the segment presents. Not just for GCCs, but product and platforms are going to be a way forward for Indian enterprises, for service providers, for all of them. And product management is going to be a key skill and an enabler to help us grab that opportunity and make the best of it. There is, of course, a lot of buzz around product management. There's a lot of conversations around product management. What we wanted to do through this, and for Nasscom, it's been a super important topic. We have a very, very strong, thriving product community. What we wanted to do is bring those conversations more to our GCC community, as well as product is going to be a key differentiator. So here we are today. We've launched this session and we're going to continue to build on it. The theme really today is for us to, understand the foundation of what really product management is. How should you think about a career in product management? What are those skills? What is product management not? Because, this is also a term which is heavily, I won't say abused, but people use it at their convenience to represent whatever they want to represent. And to just demystify and discuss this with everybody, we have a wonderful set of panelists, very experienced. They come from diverse backgrounds and diverse industry segments, which also shows the validity of the skill across segments. So we have Arti Gopalan. She's a director in product management with SAP Labs. Narendran Senthilkumar is the enterprise head of architecture for AstraZeneca India. Cedric Rajendran, principal product manager for NetApp India. And the panel is going to be moderated by Atibhi Mehra. She's the Director of Technology Product Management at Optum Global Solutions. So I'm going to first invite Atibhi to introduce herself a little bit more and kickstart the conversations. Just want to reiterate to the audience here, please use the chat, use the Q&A to interact, to respond, to ask questions, and we'll blend that in whatever and how much ever we can into our conversations and ensure that you have the perspectives that you were hoping to when you came to attend this session. Thank you again, and over to you, Atibhi.
Thank you, Sukanya. So good morning, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar. And Nasscom has assembled a dynamic group of product leaders for you here, and I'm sure that this promises to be a really thought-provoking discussion coming from very deep experiences that people have had in their product management journey. So to introduce myself, I am a product management professional who has been fortunate enough to have the experience to build and scale products through their product life cycles, whether it's been at the stage of finding the product market fit, 0 to 1 stages, growth stage companies, established companies, and I've also worked on sunsetting products, which is an experience by itself. And I have spent the last 15 plus years with brands such as Yahoo, Vodafone, WPP, with startups in the early and the mid-stage ecosystem, and now with Optum, which is part of United Health Group, a Fortune 5 company in the healthcare ecosystem. And during this time, I have launched, developed, and scaled over 15 B2C products and enterprise platforms in India, APAC, and the US. And my product management journey has been so fulfilling on many fronts. I've had the privilege of working on products which require deep data analytics, customer feedback, keen eye on market trends. And I've also worked on various capacities and titles, be it product manager, technical product manager, head of product. And now with director of product with UHG, where I get to deep dive into the complexities of healthcare product management. So I think starting off with what Sukanya said, product management is one of the most misconstrued professions, right? There are various definitions that are floating across various companies. And I think because, unlike some of the established professions like engineering and marketing, product management has a very broad scope. So I would like to start by clearing the air on this one. So what, according to you, maybe Cedric, you could start with, what is the primary role of a product manager? And before that, if you could just introduce yourself, giving a little sight about your product journey to the audience, that would be great.
Thanks, Atibhi, and good morning, everyone. My name is Cedric, and I'm part of a product management group at NetApp. I have about 18 plus years of experience, and I worked across the spectrum. I've been in technical support, solution architecture, technical marketing, and so on. So yeah, in this discussion, basically, I think it's a great question to start off with. What is the primary role of a product manager? So let's dive in. I'll give a short answer to start with, and kind of then elaborate a little bit more. I think the true value that a product manager brings to the table is being able to go out there, research the market, find what are those unmet needs of a customer that is worth solving for us. And that really resonates with what product manager lifecycle from there on goes from there, right? And so how do we go about doing this? Right? I will break it down again into 3 parts. So first thing is, we all know about KYC. I'd probably go one step further and say OIC, right? Obsess with your customer. And what does that mean is you connect with this customer at a various different levels and much deeper interactions with them, that you start becoming the customer. You walk in their shoes and you wear the role of a customer. And by doing that, you have this wonderful picture of exactly the problem that they want to solve, things that they might have told you, but one level beyond that as well, right? So that's the first step. Know your customer, or obsess with your customer. This is where gathering requirements happen. The second step from there is, let's say now you know your customer, you built a profile around them. Now you have to paint that picture to your counterparts in engineering. So think about a Netflix movie. You've read a book, Harry Potter books. You're a fan of that. Now you have to make it a movie for engineering to visualize what is that problem, define that user persona, what are their attributes, what are the skill set, what are the tools that they use, and most importantly, how do we solving this problem for the customer, help them to be successful in their roles, right? So painting that picture and collaborating with engineering to build the product, that will be your second step. And the third most important step is to bring it to market. And again, bringing into market has two different dimensions. It's a continuum, basically. First is you execute on a go-to-market strategy. You identified your target customer, you built a profile, and so on. Now, you have to be absolutely certain that your product or solution reaches that customer and identical customer who have similar problems, right? So that is the go-to-market aspect of it. And it doesn't stop there. The second part is the landing part. So you have launched and you need to land. So that means that making sure that your product is successful in the hands of a customer, or rather the customer is successful in using the product. And that again, there's leading indicators to that, there's lagging indicators to that, essentially to say that, is it really solving the problem that you set out to do, and you have customer validation, number one. And second part is really be able to, if you have a 6 to 10 referenceable customers as a thumb rule, that means like, you've achieved a product market fit. And then your journey becomes like, taking that and then refining from there on, right? To summarize, find out what is the market and the unmet need that is out there that is worth solving for your business, and set out to do that. So that is, in a nutshell, a product management role.
Thanks, Cedric. So customer centricity. I love the OIC, by the way. I'll always remember this, and GTM. Great. Arti, any thoughts on this?
Sure. Let me first start by introducing myself. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for sparing your time joining us in this discussion. I am Arti Gopalan. I'm part of SAP product management team. I have been in the product management role for over 16 years now. I started as a developer in a startup. And let me also share my experience before I get into the question which Atibhi had asked, right? One of the things that I always used to reach out to my manager when I was a developer fresh out of college was, give me something new, something more challenging, right? My manager then gave me a project to globalize the product. It was my first taste of exploring, bringing together people, achieving a goal, right? And in the very first year of my experience, it sort of set the stage, right? And naturally, when a product manager role opened up in the organization, I was invited to join in. There has been, after that, a lot of product evangelism work, a lot of opportunity to experiment, a lot of engagement with customers, with partners. I am currently a platform product manager. I lead a group of product managers here out of India. And we focus on SAP Integration Suite, which is an integration platform, right? And it has been quite a journey. So what it also means is that when Atibhi mentioned it's a most misconstrued profession, I would say it differently. I would word it that it has scope for interpretation, and it has scope for you to play on your strengths, right? I really liked what Cedric mentioned, right? As a primary role, what you want to do is make sure that you understand your customers, you make sure you understand the target group, you make sure that you are delivering on the business goals, right? But the fact is that as product managers, you're going to don many hats. And this is something which has been told many times, right? It is you have to be well versed in different languages. I don't mean languages in the sense of English or French, right? I'm talking about the language of business acumen when you're talking to your sales, your marketing with your customers, and also the language of the technical know-how, right? The technical acumen when you're interacting with your engineering team. When you are interacting also primarily in a platform product manager role like mine, and a B2B product manager like me, the role also includes being able to technically converse with your partners, the implementation teams in the customers, and so on and so forth, right? So there are lots of facets to it. And the fact is that it becomes a lot of interactions in your day-to-day life, and a lot of ambiguity that you need to manage, right? Which is where the role of a product manager is not very structured and defined and into, which can be put into a box, which can be shaped into saying that this is what it is. And there are also elements of which industry you belong to, which company you belong to, which in a large organization like SAP, it depends on the product as well as the team that you belong to, right? On what exactly your role means. Yeah, that is my perspective on why product manager is not something that can be, structured. It is a lot of interpretation that you can, there is a scope to. And as a primary role, it is finally orchestrate all these blocks that you have seen to ensure there is a, product success and you are meeting the business goal at large.
Thanks, Arti. And then, and it's interesting because, Cedric brought out the market obsession, customer obsession, the GTM. And while you are up, from the platform side, you're talking about, ability to talk to cross-functional teams, technical teams, putting it all together. And, that also now brings me to the, you mentioned platform so often in your conversation, Arti. And again, we hear these terms, product, platform, portfolio, and product management exist across all these ecosystems. And they also differ in all these ecosystems. So would love to understand, how do you really break this down? What does product, platform, portfolio mean? And maybe in terms of an example that the audience could resonate with. Senthil, is this something that you would have to talk about?
Oh, I would love to answer that. Now and my introductions. Good day for everyone on the chat or on the video, whichever platform you're signing in from. I'm Senthil. I'm the head of architecture for enterprise capabilities and solutions in AstraZeneca. Just over 2 decades of experience in a lot of B2B product platform engineering. I've been on both sides of product platforms, portfolios, developed some, marketed it, consumed some, configured it. So from a language, to take what Arti's from Arti's comment about product management, product manager language, right? If we look at the simple English definition for what a product is, it is just an item offered for sale. It's as simple as that. So what is being offered for sale? Let's take the financial domain as an example, and a debit card, a credit card is a product that's being offered for consumption by a bank or by a credit card provider. So that's a product at the core. Revolving around the product is the platform where you use one or two of these products and get to perform a value for the actual business use case or the end user. What do I mean by that? Visa is a platform on which you have multiple banks that offer their credit cards or debit cards. It's a payment gateway which uses the credit life cycle. You have SWIFT, which is for money transfer. You have NEFT, IMPS, UPI. These are all platforms on which you have multiple products that are built on top of it. At the core of a platform is always a product. You have multiple actors interacting with the product. You have multiple features that both a platform operates and a product provides. They both interact with each other to get value or get some meaning out of the whole ecosystem. Now, portfolio is an interesting term, wherein it's a conglomerate of both products and platforms. A case in point example in the Indian context is National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI, which has 23 different products and platforms. UPI is one of their key platform. NEFT is one of their key platform. They also offer RuPay as a platform and a product. So that's the difference between product, platform, portfolio. And at your core is always a product manager who looks after a product, has the vision to see how it integrates with all this ecosystem, more so from not a manager sense, but more so from a caretaker or a custodian as to how evolving items would link together. So that in my mind is product, platform, portfolio, and then product management, how they all tie up together.
Thanks. Thanks, Senthil. And the UPI, which is something that I think everyone in the audience resonates with and very highly talked about right now. I think as an example was a brilliant way to explain product, platform, and portfolio. And that brings me to the next question, which again is one of the most frequently asked questions to me personally is, there are these various titles and roles associated with the profession, right? We hear business analyst, product owner. On this chat itself, there are, I see product analyst, I see technical product manager. And the role also differs across these titles. Let's try and break down how critical are these roles and how do these roles really play an important role for folks who are trying to get into product management journey. And I could bring some light into my personal experience. When I've worked with startups, they have been typically maybe in the early stages or mid stages of the journey, and they're really strongly focused on product development, product market fit, rapid growth. And that's why the product management titles could be more generalist, and they could be quite flat. There would be product manager, there would be maybe, a VP product management, etc. Whereas if you work in mature and growth companies, for example, United Health Group, which have already achieved a certain level of success and stability, and they would have more mature product management functions, and that could lead to slightly specific titles, such as technical product manager or group product manager. And when I look back in my career, at the very early stages of my career, I was very focused on chasing titles. And I realize now that, chasing a title is something like chasing a rainbow. It's like an unattainable goal. What was very important for me is really, what is the story? What is the impact that you've had? What are the challenges that you've solved? What is the automation? What is the autonomy, or what have you built? And I remember clearly, just before joining United Health Group, I was working with startups in the early and mid stage. Brilliant experience where I had a lot of stories to talk about, a lot of challenges to build. And the question that I was asked from my hiring manager, hey, what's your story? And, I was able to articulate so much in terms of what have I built? What is the experimentation? What is the challenge that I solved for? And how big was that challenge? And sometimes, I would just like to bring this thought back to the audience as to, what really is the role of a title, and what should, PMs really look for in a title as they embark on their journey. So, Arti, do you have any point of view on this?
As you said, Atibhi, I'll call it out once again, right? There is a difference on what the title means depending on where you come from, right? In a startup, it is a much more flatter hierarchy. In a larger organization, it has a different set of sense, right? Because you are working as a collective when you are in a larger organization. You are not a singular product manager or a smaller set of product managers. In SAP, we have hundreds of product managers just based out of India, right? And if you think about a singular product, which I am dealing with, a platform product, at least a group of 30 to 40 people who are supporting that product. So there is a sense of what the role defines and the title defines, because that creates boundaries. Otherwise, the ambiguity is what will overwhelm you in a larger organization. So that is the perspective I would draw, right? But at the same time, as a person who is looking at titles and roles as your next career move, or looking at what is the relevance it is going to bring to you, I would actually word it slightly in a sense of calling out that every individual, every one of us have our own unique value proposition, right? That we need to work with. The most important thing that you need to understand is, as part of the role, do you understand the situation? Do you have a view on the situation that you are currently dealing with? Do you have a clarity on what is the goal that you have been assigned to do, right? In that current role, in that current title of yours, what is the goal that you have been assigned to do? Do you have an opinion on how to reach it? Or have you been able to create an opinion on how to reach it, right? And these titles, which are dependent on industry, company, product, team, will anyway, not bind you on these views, this clarity, and this opinion, right? So have that flexibility as a product manager and a structured approach, right? Have the soft skills to communicate, to collaborate, to apply first principle thinking. And these are the things that you should be shaping up over a period of time. And from a title and from a role perspective, also, be whatever it may be, you will still have to apply these initial, foundational layers. So the rest is just associated to where you are at that point in time. It doesn't really constrain you from thinking out of the box.
Yeah. And Senthil, I know your titles on LinkedIn, it says architect and all that. I'd love to hear your point of view as well on titles and the role in product management.
So that's a good curveball to yeah. So I've had this name called architect stuck with me in my role for many years, but then the actual job that I performed has varied a lot. So this is how I kind of treat this whole thing. What is the role that was envisioned or advertised from an enterprise or a company or an industry? It varies. I think Arti had that very clear articulation: industry, company, you have your product development and your team. So at 4 layers, the role that is advertised is completely different. And the role as understood by me as a candidate is I have a mindset and I go into not having a clear understanding, or probably me having an over wishful thinking about what is being advertised. So understanding what's being asked and what I can offer and doing that gap analysis to do that fitment is one very important ask as product managers or product owners or platform owners or whatever we want to call it that way. Now that brings to the next big question: what is it that we really want to do? Do we want to do the noun, which is the title, or do we want to do the verb, which is management? A product manager is a noun, a product management is a verb. What is the activity that I really want to do? Product management is a big spectrum. Product manager could just do the life cycle of a product on a small scale. So what is the spectrum that I want to operate in? So learning that, understanding that, upskilling somebody to do it, upskilling one to come up to that level is really important. And the third key takeaway for me is, yes, I have a passion to solve somebody else's problem, not my own problem, right? A product management is all about solving somebody else's problem. Yes, I could have faced that problem in my real life, which gave me the seed for the idea, but I think that's a common problem across the society, which I'm trying to solve for. So the passion to solve problems is the one that really drives product management at the core. The other important skill, a subset to that, is how do you get through the valley of despair? Everyone in our careers would have had that at that euphorium level at the top, and then we would have seen a trough in our career where whatever ideas I say, the management doesn't agree or the market does not agree, and then I realize that I'm coming to a plateau of enlightenment where the product clicks. So how do I pass through this valley and upskill myself in the product management spectrum? Clearly determines what I want to do more than roles, titles, job families, job cards, business cards, anything that says. At the end, the title is just another small item behind your name on your visiting card. That's how I look at the title.
Thanks. I think, Senthil, that was so beautifully put. And, I love this point saying that, what is the spectrum that I want to operate in? Very often, I have, people, folks coming to me and saying, hey, my end, I'm like, what is the aspiration, right? And folks who do have a very clear idea of the aspiration, like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I said, great. Like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, is this chasing titles of senior PM, director, VP in a large tech company, is that going to be giving you the right skill sets, or is going to be skill set that will help you, understand finance, understand people, understand ecosystems, understand business? Would that kind of a role, irrespective of title, be something that you would chase on. Yeah, but thanks. I think these were brilliant thoughts that have come up, especially the, on what spectrum do folks really want to really operate in. And I think that also brings us to a question, which is, so when folks want to also embark into the product management journey, because I'm seeing a lot of folks on the call are people from the technical background as well who want to get into product management. Are there any kind of skills that they should be focusing on, and should they look for, what should they really look for in the role to be really, successful? Anyone has any thoughts? Cedric, any point of view?
Yeah, I could start. And continuing from the previous question, I guess I'll throw one more title in the ring, and this is quite popular. The product manager is also called a mini CEO. Don't get started on applying for the CEO roles yet. But yeah, product management is also a path to get there, right? A lot of successful CEOs are product managers in the past. Now, to the question, right? What do I look for in the role, and how does success for a product manager looks like? So we'll play out a scenario. I think a lot of the audience we have probably are walking this path. So in your hunt, you start looking at several of these job portals. You look at roles with the title of a product manager. How do you validate that it's truly product manager, or is it a subset of the tasks? One summary from all the previous discussions that we had so far is we can all come to a consensus that there is a primary role that is set out that we can expect within certain framework, and there are secondary roles that we need to don the hats, and as situation comes by. So at some point in time, you might need to spin out a blog, you might need to present something, and so on. So fill in certain gaps. So product managers also catch on, right? Now diving into that, the scenario we were playing out, when you look for a role, so primarily three things I'd say. First thing is, when you look at the company or job in the job description, you'll have a fair notion of what that organization is doing, what products or service that they're building or trying to deliver. So that's one indicator. The second is, by the role itself as a product manager, there are certain things that is expected out of a product manager, and that should resonate in that job description for the role, such as you are responsible for the mission and vision, you build and manage the roadmap, you are defining product requirements, you talk to stakeholders, closely work with engineering. So these are clear signs that you would play that role of a product manager. That's what is expected. And also from a skills perspective, very direct correlation of product management skills. So what are the things that we need? We need to have a prototyping, prioritization, stakeholder management as an integral part of this. And most often roles, like Arti specifically pointed out, when you carry a conversation with engineering, there is certain level of technology acumen that you need to have, right? So there is likely to be some domain skills that are associated that you have gained from the past that will be called out. So that's like, from a job hunt, aspiring PMs, what to look for, right? And the second part of it is how to be successful in that role. So that really, couple of things. There is, I wouldn't decouple product manager success from a product or organization success. As a product manager, as long as you are productively and positively impacting the customer, the organization's revenue, you are sure to be successful there. And there are ways to measure it, right? You could simply look at how your product adoption is looking like. What is the market share? Are you helping increase that market share? And net, it all boils down to, is your customer happy? And there are indicators like net promoter score, and to sort of define that. So that is how I would say, this is how you hunt and figure out, land in the role. And the second part is, how do you define success in that role, right? Maybe I'll just pass it on to the next person.
Thanks, Cedric.
I have an opinion on this as well, right? So Cedric, you actually had a very good viewpoint on how, the different roles are going to, you are going to play as a product manager, right? Despite whatever the title says, despite what you're being hired for, you should have a perspective on the customers, on how you interact, on how you get back to the engineering team, how do you how do you prioritize and productize, right? It finally goes back to, are you investing and delivering on the product success, on the business success. So those are the metrics that you finally have to look at. I just would like to add that when you're looking for a role, right, play to your own strengths. This is something that I have told many of my mentees as well, right, that do not blindly apply for a role. Again, I'm repeating myself, but everybody has their own unique value proposition, right? You have a unique primary focus area. Some of them are able to connect easily. Some of them are able to network much more easily and convince others much more easily. Some of them have this technical thirst, to deep dive and innovate. Some of them have this strength of being able to see the bigger picture, and then the strategy starts flowing out of it. The key is to introspect, understand what is your strength, and leverage on that as a primary strength, right? As part of the role that you're exploring, does this strength comes into play, and will your company be able to leverage it, right? And that is where your success criteria comes in. The rest of the skills that are required for the role can be learned as you get deeper into that role, is a point of view that I would like to share. But
Yeah. I think that's a great point of view, because with the fact that there are so many roles that are available called as product, but the choice that an individual has, which really matches their interest and passion, is something that folks definitely can align to. And that's where I think this whole, I love the fact that you're saying introspect, really try and understand what are your key strengths that you want to leverage. What product or industry really excites you and gets your motivation really high. And another point that you really brought out, Cedric, of actually being close to the customer. I think also in product management, like we are US based healthcare company, and my product team is, we don't know the customer, we don't know US healthcare, we're not using the product or the insurance products. It's extremely regulated and complex. However, I think as much as you can, whether it's through operations, there's a lot of we encourage folks to really work closely with the operation teams, understand analytics, understand voice of customer, understand any listening sessions, talk to business stakeholders. I think those are definitely some of the areas that at least people who are working on outside of India, product companies would need to lean in and make a very, very conscious effort to understand further. Any thoughts, Senthil, from you on this before we go to our next question?
So here is something that really popped up, right? I'm just reading through the chat and taking that feedback, collating with all that's happening in this discussion. As I said earlier, right, it's a spectrum, and in that spectrum you have multiple roles that have to be performed. And Cedric had this interesting analogy where you have your primary skill, your secondary skill. So it could be a hard skill, it could be a soft skill. You have your main skill, you have an ancillary skill, you have something which is I could be a technology expert, which is my hardcore skill, but then my presentation communication is my soft skill, and I need to tweak that or tune that. Now going back to that matrix, right? If we pick that matrix, pick on management, what would I, as a product manager, sell for myself when I apply for a job? Treat self as a product when you go attend an interview, when you go look at it, right? Rather than selling a third-party product. The interview is all about marketing or it's you have reacted to an advertisement, you're selling yourself. And what are the USPs that your hiring manager should take back? Is it a tech company? Then you have to talk in that context with your audience. If it's a product company, to your point, an insurance client in the US, you need to talk about what a healthcare professional is, what is the premium, what is the copay. There are these jargons. This is called business English lingua franca. I think Arti had that point. It's called BELF. We need to have the document to go talk. And that's where I have this interesting acronym, or yeah, you could say that. So any presentation that we make ends with a PPTX as the file extension. So you apply the same principle for anything that you want to go talk in your career, or when you want to talk to somebody else, right? You put the people first, the audience that you want to talk, the audience that you want to serve. You put the process behind what you want to address. Then you take the technology and use the technology. Now the X is the interesting part, which is the constraints. Time is a constraint, cost is a constraint, quality is a constraint. Your market may exist today, it may disappear in another 3 months, but then you need to get your product up and running. And how do you do not just a horizontal slice of your product, but a vertical slice which everyone can use? That's where methodologies like Agile come into play. It helps you get this through. So long story short, just in my mind, if we take this PPTX principle and apply that to any discussion, any thought process that we have in product management, product engineering, product development, even sunsetting a product is a skill by itself, right? I've been through life cycles where we had to phase out a product and acquire a new product. So take that PPTX principle, apply it, and then it should be able to help you through going forward. Open to other views. Cedric, Arti, any views that you have as well?
So I think that's great. Thanks, Senthil. And I think one of the questions that's even being asked, in the chat is, do you have any suggestions on how should people develop their skills, right? On one time, there's a lot of certifications. Do certifications really help? What are some of the structured learning or non-structured learning paths that folks could take to really enter the field and continue to grow in the field?
Maybe I could start and then pass it over to Arti. So you brought about a great point. I think that really sums up Atibhi, that about structured learning, and I think that is really critical. So meaning to say, just like how if we need to learn music or pick up a sport, there are rules, there are techniques, and there is terminology that you need to be familiarized with, particularly from a non-PM background coming in. You better know what someone says wireframe or prototyping or maintaining the roadmap and things like that. You should not be caught off guard, and that is where structured learning really helps. And okay, so again, there is a little bit of a difference of opinion in terms of, does certifications really help? Do I need to do an MBA? These are common questions when thinking about building the right skill. So it's not so much about carrying that paper which says that so and so is certified, done this thing. But it's more so from a learning perspective, and getting familiarized with the concepts that you can use it on the job. So it's more on the learning, and these courses help build that framework and deliver that to you. So that's one part. And again, maybe there are companies which help fund the career development aspects and so on, where these can be like weaved into your career path. But if not, there is nothing stopping someone from curating their own program and going out to platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn. There are a lot of influencers building out content, right? From like, how do you build a SaaS product? How do you do road mapping? And there's a lot of content out there, and there's no cost associated. You go in there and, based on your curated program, you can learn at your own pace. So that's one part. And I think what is also not irreplaceable in the product management space is being able to connect with mentors, connect with actual practitioners, and being able to use your network, extended network, to see what the day in the life of a product manager looks like. What do they do? And again, so one note of caution that I would leave there is, as you go through this learning process or mentoring process, or even a rotational role where you play the role, you should not have a sort of follow the crowd mentality. And you can always choose to say that, hey, maybe product management is not for me. There are these other things that makes me uncomfortable, or I'd rather be coding. There are other professions and skills that maybe you discover that is better for you and right for you. So just don't have that confirmation bias when you go through this process. So that's where I leave that and pass it over to maybe Arti to take a stab at. from her perspective.
Sure. Thanks, Cedric. So again, what I feel about this is that there are many courses being offered, right, to a product manager, aspiring one as well. In my opinion, there are two things that you need to look at, right? One is the learning itself. What is the concept? Like Cedric really called it out, right? You should not be blind to a term which is being used in that particular domain, that particular industry. You should know what that term means, how is it being used, in what context, so on and so forth, which comes through learning, right? Through structured learning, as well as by exploring the content which is there on different channels, which are right now rich with content, right? There is no dearth of MOOCs, and there is no dearth of really strong thought leaders who are sharing their opinions on these concepts. So you should have that in hand, right? You should have it right at the fingertips on how it is getting used. But the second thing I feel, which is also going to add a lot of value, is experience. So how do you balance them both, right, is the key from my point of view. There is your role, there is your current role, which requires you to do a certain function, which requires you to have a certain delivery at the end of the day. But then there is also these projects which are floating around, which your manager probably sees as a white space, or your your leaders feel as a white space. It could be inside your own team, or it could be outside your team. I would suggest spend the time to identify, go and talk to them and identify projects that, is going to add really value to your profile and how you are thinking, right? Personally, it gave me a lot of opportunity to work and learn from different teams. Being with SAP for 16 years, my way of learning and keeping myself fresh or from a skill set point of view, because my role would be defined, right? I wouldn't probably get all the opportunities I need to do everything which encompasses a holistic product manager. My approach was to go and reach out and get involved in different projects. I got involved in a 3 to 6 months project on a very regular basis, where I was able to shape up a GTM strategy, for example. I was able to create a product strategy, right? I was able to invest into portfolio analysis. These are aspects that only comes via projects. So there is no right or wrong project. Every skill, every learning is going to help you as a product manager. So what I would suggest is become multifaceted by trying out different projects in addition to learning. Learning cannot be avoided. Learning has to be done. But in addition to learning, do try out and get your experience, right, which enriches what you think, how your perspectives are shaped, and so on.
Yeah. And there is a question on this, maybe we can answer it, which says, can you specify the difference between structured and non-structured part? And I think you alluded a little bit on the non-structured part, because, when you're talking about projects, it's not very often that the projects are kind of handed over to you. Very often I've realized it makes so much of a difference knowing the right people in the organization, which means reaching out to people in the product team, if you're not, to really understand what they are doing, their role, showing your interest in maybe some participation in projects that might not be widely available, but you do it in your stretch hours. I think those are some of the non-structured elements that I think would really add to the structured certifications, etc., that might be around. That's
right, Aditi. Structured versus non-structured. Structured is basically where it's a course, it has been set into place, where you are, taken from one topic to another, and you are acquiring knowledge based on how it is intended to be. On the unstructured part, it is because you are involved in a project, because you have reached out to your network, tapped into your network, you have identified that there is a space that you can stretch your hours into, which is not possible for all, but if you do it, that's great. And then you identify spaces which you're not familiar with and acquire knowledge on that particular piece, right? By probably, looking up certain articles on that specifically, then that becomes your non-structured. So that is what I meant also when you say structured versus non-structured.
Great.
Yeah.
So I would like to have some time for the questions. So one last closing statement from all of you, really from going back to the webinar topic. What are really the key ingredients of world-class product management, and what are the ingredients of a disaster? Just a statement from everyone. Maybe Senthil, you could start.
For success, I would say relentless learning so that you can pivot without mercy or guilt. And for failures, not being situationally aware.
Yeah. Arti?
While I would like to reiterate what Senthil said, right? PPTX, that really resonated very well with me. You should be focused on PPTX. One ingredient that I feel is necessary is curiosity, right? Go and ask the right questions. Find out who are the right people to ask the right questions to, right? This is one of the key ingredients as a product manager. Globally, the world is your playing ground. Right now, the network is extremely wide. Your reach is also extremely wide. So I would suggest, identify people who are really good across the globe. Time zone is not a problem at all. Reach out and have those discussions. Have 30 minutes of discussions. I'm sure everybody is happy to share their opinions and, on a specific question. So be curious. Disaster ingredient is, as a product manager, you need to navigate, you need to adapt. If you're not able to adapt, you are stuck in a space which is not evolving, right? Be open to adapting. I would say that is the specific ingredient.
Thanks, Arti. Cedric?
Sure. So maybe I'll give a quote and then give an explanation of that a bit. So I think first thing is, don't stop at building a useful product that customer uses. Build an impactful product where you create that dependency. Think about Google Map, right? Literally and metaphorically, people are lost without Google Map. How can you make an impactful product and keep that as your aspiration? That will be my 2 cents.
Thank you, Cedric. So we'll just move on to some questions. There are a lot of questions that have come in from the chat. So I think one, I'm just bunching them up. So I think one is, what is some of the must-have tech knowledge that product manager should have when working with a tech company?
So is there a must-have tech knowledge? I see that every month we have a new technology popping up from somewhere and we have to keep ourselves abreast, right? So as a product manager, I would say there is a slight difference in learning technology deeply versus knowing how to use the technology, right? As a product manager, I would say keep yourself relevant, understand what are the technology shifts which are happening, and being aware and how to use the technology shift to your advantage is something that you should have an opinion upon. From at least that would be a call out from me. In addition to that, there are roles where you will have to deep dive into technologies, right? And that is very role specific. I do not think you are going to learn a technology and then find a role. As part of the role, you will be learning a technology and deep diving into a technology. So that is also a difference in how you, as a product manager, you will have to think about the technical tools out there. At least that's my experience.
So Arti and Atibhi, I have a viewpoint on that when it comes to technology. Probably this is going to sound a little funny. There are 4 core technologies which never change, whatever product management you do. The first, all 4 are usually a Microsoft product, or you have an analogy to it. There is Office, which you use to effectively communicate. There is Teams, which we use to effectively chat, collect ideas. There is PowerPoint, where you use to communicate your viewpoints back. And either you have Visio, which is used from an architecture product, or you have Microsoft Project Plan, where you go to a product management lifecycle. So those, in my mind, are 4 core technologies which are indispensable regardless of which industry you come from, which skill of product management you come from. I think no disregard to the fact that technology keeps changing, but no matter what happens, these 4 somehow keep coming back in our lives, and we end up using them more than any other technology in our careers.
So I'd maybe just I'll maybe add just one more indispensable technology that is evolving in the space, AI. there's two parts to AI, and all of the tools that Narendra mentioned, right? It becomes an integral part where you supplement with tools around AI, which will help you build content. Ask the relevant questions, and you have answers. Helps you knock down a lot of your research work. So using AI in your day-to-day life, ChatGPT and the likes, that really helps improve the efficiency of a product manager.
I agree, Cedric. That's a great point because AI now, I mean, I think everyone needs to use it, understand it. I think there's a lot that's available as well. I think as product managers, I think the capabilities is something that we need to really understand of AI. I think we have two questions maybe we can answer. One is quickly, what is the difference between a product owner and a product manager?
Can I? Yeah, just add one. I think there was one more saying that does product management vary in B2B and B2C context? So maybe if that would also, if you could address.
Maybe I'll talk about the product owner versus product manager, and this is like a 10,000 feet view. The product manager is closely around the customer and the business aspect of it, researching the market and so on. The product owner becomes more engineering inclined and the execution of a product and project perspective. If product manager deals with the why we need to solve a problem, the product owner looks after how we solve the problem.
Yeah, thanks. And I think the point of B2B and B2C, my quick point of view, I think B2B product management always tends to be a lot of, customization, integration with existing systems or workflows. They have typically longer sales cycles, so there will be, multiple sales cycles, multiple stakeholders. Whereas a B2C product management has very different key skill sets that would be very critical. For example, user experience, really, how do we get an exceptional user experience out to the members? How do you build products, as we've all spoken about, which have deep customer needs, wants, gap analysis? How do you create the marketing, branding for a B2C customer? A lot of need for rapid iteration, innovation. I think these are some of the key differences that I have seen across B2B and B2C. But anyone has any further thoughts could chime in.
So talking in terms of user experience, right? That is one segment which I would like to emphasize on a B2B versus B2C. On a B2C user experience, it's highly touchy-feely visual content that happens. And the same product, the same engine could serve a B2B customer, and it's always straight through processing. Because the ticket sizes are huge on a B2B market, the ticket sizes are small on a B2C market, vis-a-vis comparing from a total ticket size. So that is from a user experience standpoint. From a technology standpoint, B2B customers usually are even more finicky because the contracts themselves have legal penalties to it. So there is always a lot of contractual negotiation that happens on a B2B more than a B2C. B2C, not a lot of us read everything and then click our I agree. Right? On a B2B, every word is scrutinized, every SLA is revisited, every response time is validated. It has to be precise, 99.999 and how many hour times availability. On a B2C, not so much. There are platforms, but I'm not discounting the fact, but these are two key differences in terms of the scale of operations that happen in B2C and B2B. But the core mindset with respect to product management remains the same. It is just the spectrum in which you operate varies.
Yeah, and if I have to add to it, in B2B world, the final user of the product is very different from who is going to procure it, right? The buyer of the product. And that makes a big difference on how, as a product manager, you are creating the value propositions of the product, right? So whom are you selling it to? The business or the organization which is going to procure those licenses for the end users. And why should the organization, be influenced to buy it? And the influencer in this particular case is the end user. So are you making it appealing for the end user to go to their business and make a case out of it? And are we making it appealing enough for the business to invest into that particular product from a return on investment and so on, and other measures, right, that they have. These are aspects that really influences a B2B product manager decisions. Whereas B2C, as Senthil and Cedric mentioned, you have a hypothesis, you can immediately innovate, you can try it out, you can see the reaction in the market, get back to your desk, rework on it, and you have a reaction from the end users immediately, right? Which is really a great motivation as a product manager for you to keep on evolving and keep on investing into newer ideas. And you see a good churn rate also. At the same time, you also see immediate adoption if the idea clicks. That's really a good experience.
Thanks, Arti. I think we are on top of the hour, Sukanya. I think you've collected some of the questions, right?
Yes, we have responded, and we've also pinged saying I've shared 2 email IDs of my colleagues. If you have specific questions, please send it to the email IDs. We'll collate it. We'll send it to the panelists and see if they want to share some interesting perspective on those. If you want to connect with any of the panelists to get some guidance, we'll be happy to please enable. Please obviously connect with a guidance from a career point of view, not directly a job point of view. So look at career advice and how you want to shape your career, things like that. So we'll be happy to help you guys connect if the panelists are comfortable. So do share your LinkedIn and why you would like to connect if that is the area of interest. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Atibhi, Arti, Cedric, Senthil. Lovely conversations. It's just the beginning of many conversations to come. In the next few sessions, we'll really go deep and get different aspects and of product management and deep dive into them to understand what those nuances are. This is an important area as mentioned by Nasscom, and we're very happy to help you in your product management journey by sharing insights and details. Please look up the Nasscom Future Skills Prime website. We have a product management 101 and 201 playbooks, which have been developed by industry experts to help people start this journey of product management. And thank you so much again, panelists. What a pleasure to have you here, and really appreciate the support Nasscom gets from all our members to enable us in our journey.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.